The programme with breaking news this hour from Afghanistan, where there are multiple reports of an explosion outside Kabul airport. For the moment, details are very much still emerging. It does appear, though, that incident took place near the eastern gate of the airport. The Pentagon a short while ago confirming that an explosion has taken place. They, for the moment, aren't giving a casualty figure, but within the last few minutes, we've heard that US officials are saying initial reports suggest it was a suicide bomb near the airport. Well, our senior reporter, Catherine Norris-Trent, has been in Kabul for a few days now, and we can speak to her now. Catherine, what can you tell us at the moment?
Hello there, Nadia. Yes, I wasn't far from the airport myself at the time. I did indeed hear at least one explosion, so I can confirm that happened, followed by exchanges of gunfire. Now, we saw at least a dozen people injured ourselves being carried away, people very panicked, running through the streets near the airport. Of course, there have been big crowds there, people trying to get away. There have been warnings earlier in the day from US authorities as well as British and Australian warning people to stay away from that area because they had detected the risk of a potential terror attack. Some people talking, now obviously it's very early stages, there's absolutely no sign of what kind of weapon or explosives were used. It wasn't a very loud explosion, actually, so that could give some pointers. There was a possible second explosion about half an hour later. Again, not very loud. So we'll have to wait and see what's been confirmed about that, but at least a dozen injured that we saw ourselves. A lot of people very panicked, Taliban, shooting into the air, trying to clear people away, and of course fears that something else could happen in the wake of this, because often these attacks do not come alone.
And Catherine, I know you spent some time in the last few days at the airport. Western countries telling people not to go to the airport because of fears of an attack like this. To your knowledge, had people been heeding that warning, or was the airport extremely busy today?
It was extremely busy. There were still thousands and thousands of people crushing into those streets. People are desperate to get away. They know the window of opportunity for them to try and get out of Afghanistan on these evacuation flights is closing. And so, yes, the government had been calling people not to come. The Taliban had said that they weren't going to work let any Afghan citizens through, and they've been blocking the road. They've got various checkpoints, the Taliban checkpoints, trying to stop people getting through, whipping them and hitting them as well as part of their crowd control methods. But still, those streets were busy. And so, we can imagine whatever type of explosion this was, that the casualties will reflect that.
Catherine, can you give us a sense from your knowledge of the airport? Do we know where this explosion has taken place? Was it near to where big groups of civilians were gathering? Was it near to where some of the Western armies have been based? Or is that information that we don't have at this stage?
Yeah, and I don't want to give false information that hasn't been confirmed, but it seems that we were not too far away from the Abbey Gate, which is where British soldiers are stationed and where we've seen those very large groups of civilians massing. So it seems that it was in that area. Again, yet to be confirmed, but that's where we heard it. And that's where we saw panicked people running away, and that's where we saw them carrying injured people away. Some people with quite a lot of blood on them there. So, it would seem that this attack has targeted those large crowds, which had been the fear. It's not only the Taliban who are at large in Afghanistan. There's been lots of fears about the Islamic State group, notably ISIS-K, their Central Asian group, who are at odds enemies of the Taliban. And there have been intelligence detected that they might be looking to stage an attack. So again, no claim of responsibility so far. It's very early stages, but we definitely had an explosion and saw at least a dozen people injured, some with lots of blood all over them. One man I spoke to said that he'd heard something about a backpack being exploded. People were panicked. This information is not confirmed. We're going to try and put together with what we saw with other sources here in Kabul.
All right, Catherine Norris-Trent, we're really pleased you're safe. We'll leave you to go try to figure out a little bit more about what's going on very near to where you are by Kabul airport. Catherine, for the moment, thank you.